Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today, on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I thought I would share just a little bit about our amazing trip to Greece. It was certainly an experience of a lifetime. We certainly got the big, fat Greek treatment. If you've never seen the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, you might not have a clue what I'm referring to. But if you have, then you know. It will be a short episode today as I'm still struggling from jet lag. A 17-hour flight home, 2 time changes. Europe sets their clock back the weekend before the U.S., and a 7-hour time difference. We traveled to Greece with our olive oil salesman, Michael Thomas, who is Greek, and his wife, Pam. For most of the trip, we stayed in the home of Michael's brother, Paul, where we were treated like family. Michael imports olive oil, olives, and other Greek products to the U.S. We have been getting our Cretan Mills Olive Oil that we sell at Bread Beckers from him for a little more than 20 years because it's some of the best extra virgin olive oil available. And after visiting the Cretan Mills olive tree farm and plant, we are convinced that it may be the best. I did do a podcast interview at the farm and the plant where we visited, and we'll hopefully be sharing that with you in an upcoming episode. It's still in the editing process. But today, I thought I would just give you a few highlights and takeaways from our amazing trip. And like I said earlier, it will be brief. I will save this food experience until the end of the podcast. Sightseeing in Athens brought much historical insight. Temples and idolatrous monuments to false gods certainly inspired not only awe at the magnificence, but also concern for the magnitude of idolatry. But then as we hiked to the top of the famous Acropolis, the temple of the goddess Athena, we looked down to see the equally famous biblical site, for us anyway, mentioned in the book of Acts as Mars Hill. Mars Hill was the ancient site of the Supreme Court of Athens, but it is also here that the Apostle Paul delivered a powerful sermon. Acts 17:16 tells us that as Paul waited in Athens for the arrival of Silas and Timothy, his spirit was greatly distressed when he saw that the city was so full of idols. While visiting Athens, I could certainly identify. But like Paul, despite all the evidence of idolatrous worship, I remembered the words of Paul's sermon there. In Acts 17:24 through 25, Paul addresses their worship of an unknown God with these words. And he says, "The God who created the world and everything in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is he served by human hands as though he needs anything, because it is he who gives all people life and breath and all things." And to that, my spirit says, amen. Despite the magnitude of these relics, they are just that, and our God is alive and indeed greater. From Athens, we set sail on an overnight ferry to the Isle of Crete. Our number one purpose was to visit Cretan Mills, our olive oil supplier. That was indeed an enlightening experience as we stood in an orchard of over 2,000 olive trees and watched the olives being harvested. Cretan Mills is a 5th-generation family-owned business with unsurpassed respect and integrity. We are so happy to bring their olive oil to you. More on our visit with them will be coming soon. But while on the Isle of Crete, we learned that the very city, Heraklion, where we were staying, was the home and birthplace of one of Paul's young converts, Titus. With idolatry heavily entrenched in the culture of the Cretans, it is no surprise then why the Apostle Paul's letter to Titus gives clear instructions on establishing strong church leadership and explicitly explains what good, godly behavior among men and women, both young and old, should look like. On our last day in Crete, we discovered a beautiful church dedicated to Titus and learned that Titus died on the Isle of Crete in that very city well into his 90s. We returned to Athens to sightsee a few more days before heading south to Corinth and the area of Kalamata, famous for their olives. We stopped in ancient Corinth, and again in the midst of the ruins of temples dedicated to mythological gods, we actually stood on the very bema seat of judgment where the Apostle Paul was brought before Gallio after being accused of teaching the worship of a false god. This is recorded in Acts 18. I came away from ancient Corinth greatly encouraged that, like Paul, Timothy, Silas, and Titus, though surrounded by such great idolatry, we too should be bold and not be afraid to share our faith and to shine our light brightly in the dark world that surrounds us. Now to the part of the food journey. Brad and I both love Greek food, and Brad boldly proclaimed to everyone before we left that he was going to eat his way across Greece, and that is what we did. Here is where the My Big Fat Greek Wedding experience was realized. The people are friendly, accommodating, and love sharing their food. The food was fresh. Tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and of course olives and olive oil were in abundance at every meal. And cheese and oranges. Fresh orange juice is served everywhere, squeezed right there on the spot. Whether it was a restaurant, a hotel, a street vendor, never once did I see a bottle of pasteurized orange juice. And we had the privilege of getting a little lost one day with our GPS that led us to travel on a narrow one-lane road for quite a few miles right through an orange grove. Hundreds of orange trees on both sides as far as you could see. Olive trees and pomegranate trees grow everywhere, even among the ancient ruins. And fresh squeezed pomegranate juice is definitely one of my now favorite drinks ever. Now to our meal times. They were an experience in themselves, lasting at least 2 hours each meal. Food was ordered, starters, main dishes, side dishes. The dishes were brought to the table for all to enjoy, a few at a time over the course of the entire meal. We would taste and enjoy as other dishes were freshly prepared and brought to the table. We laughed, we ate, we fellowshipped, we tasted, believing that each dish we tasted was our favorite. We tasted and enjoyed traditional Greek salads, topped with Greek oregano, real feta cheese, and olive oil, delicious tzatziki made from the fluffiest and most delicious yogurt I have ever tasted, chickpea and zucchini balls, similar to falafels, chickpea hummus, grilled lamb kebabs, grilled chicken and beef on a stick called souvlaki, fried cheese called saganaki, and one of my very favorite dishes, moussaka, which I am hoping to try and duplicate real soon. At the end of every meal, a complimentary, small, simple dessert was brought to the table with spoons for everyone to share. Nothing overwhelming. Often it was a plate of fresh fruit, pineapple, grapes, and oranges with a small bowl of some sort of pudding or small donuts with cream to be enjoyed by all. Or a small bowl of homemade yogurt topped with fresh cherry sauce. or a very small piece of a traditional custard-like cake or pie. But it wasn't just the food we enjoyed. It was the mealtime itself, the conversation and laughs and the lingering around the table. Such a stark contrast with what most of our meals here in the U.S. have become. I had this same feeling in Israel last year as we celebrated a Sabbath meal, the prayers of blessing over our spouses and children, and the lingering at the table in conversation and fellowship. I want so much to bring this type of mealtime fellowship into my life back here at home. My husband, Brad, captured it all perfectly in his observation, and this is how he explained it. He said in America, we go to a meal before an event, dinner and a movie, dinner and a concert, usually a little rush to get where we are going on time. But in Greece, the meal together is the event. So as I returned home from our truly awesome big fat Greek trip, I have it in my heart to make at least some of our meal times the event. And as we approach the holiday seasons of Thanksgiving and Christmas, maybe we could all benefit from less hustle and bustle and things to do, and take time to not only be thankful for our good food, family, and friends, but also take the time to linger at the table and enjoy each other's company. While in Greece, one other observation became quite clear. The lifestyle in Greece is much more relaxed. As we would get into our American rut of feeling like we had to stay on our schedule, our Greek friend Michael would often say, "Don't worry about it," or "Forget about it." It soon became our favorite saying, "Don't worry about it." Another habit I hope to implement in my all too hurry up lifestyle. So as always, I want to thank you for listening to my big fat Greek episode today. And I hope you will sit down soon and enjoy the company and fruits of your labors as you gather around your mealtime table, and say to all your schedules, "Forget about it." And to all your cares and troubles, "Don't worry about it." And until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.